Hi, welcome back, everyone. We hope you enjoyed our last couple sessions. They were amazing speakers and such good takeaway points and content. I know I always learn so much from the sessions, even though I have heard many sessions over the course of the last 12 months of doing this. So we really appreciate our speakers' time. And now this is one of my favorite components of the event. So I'm here with our four panelists today. And we are going to talk about a lot of things HR. We're going to talk about diversity. We're going to talk about the pandemic and how it's affected and how our panelists have had to pivot. And we're going to talk about what's next, what's the culture and things that have affected their employees and their overall processes, and kind of what the plans are for when the pandemic starts to really lift and things start to open up. So thank you guys so much for being here. My name is Rachel Mitchell, and I'm the Director of Business Development for TorontoJobs.ca. So we're going to start by just everyone kind of going around and talking a little bit about themselves and their organizations, and then we're going to get into a little bit more Q&A. So we do really suggest that you ask a lot of questions. The more questions you ask, the more engaged our panel will be today. So feel free to, if you have a question for a specific speaker, just mention their name. If it's just an open-ended question, we'll just kind of rotate around and everyone can answer the questions. So just in the stage chat on the right-hand side, if you have any questions, just pop them in there. So we're going to start with you, Evert. You have an amazing business since 2012, you mentioned, in HR and communications. So maybe we can learn a little bit more about that and yourself.
Yes, I've been in HR for, I think, a combined 16 years or something like that. Was HR manager at a financial institution for 8 years. And since 2012, self-employed, basically serving as an outsourced HR department for typically small to mid-sized organizations who do have the need but not the scale to justify an HR department. So that's my bread and butter. That's the bulk of what I've been doing for the past 9 years. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much for being here. That's a very long-term HR, experience. So we're really looking forward to hearing your thoughts on the pandemic and all things HR. And Sheeba, we used to work together when you were with another organization, and I was so happy to see you on the panel today. So you're with another organization now. So looking forward to hearing a little bit about your background and the current company that you're working for.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm currently at Delvinia. We are a data collection and analytics company. My career has been probably 16, 17 years, and much like Everett, I started off in the consulting world, where I wore many HR hats for small companies. Since then, I've sprouted into a director of people and culture position and worked in many different industries, and I've landed in data. I've got a lot of experience working in the technology sector. And that's kind of what I've been doing. I've gotten some experience in very siloed roles where it's talent acquisition and employee relations. So I've kind of got the full spectrum of the HR function.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for being here. And we have Andrea Johnson, who is the Director of Human Resources for Fonolo. So thank you so much for being here, Andrea.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's such a great conversation. Looking forward to seeing how it unfolds. And so, yes, I'm the Director of Human Resources for Fonolo. I've been in HR for just about 7 years. Also very much of a generalist, and I love it that way because I get to touch a lot of different areas of HR and make sure that they're interlinked in a very seamless way. And I think it's a powerful space to be in, especially right now with everything that we've been experiencing over the past year or so. What else can I add? As far as most of my input today is going to be based on the tech sector because that's what most of my experience has been in. Different industries, but definitely software. And I think that, yeah, that's a bit about me. Happy to answer any questions that come up.
I'm excited about the diverse range of industries that we have here. So thanks so much for being here, Andrea. And Paula, lastly, Paula Fernandez, who is the Director of People and Culture at Drone Delivery Canada. So thanks so much for being here. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself and Drone Delivery Canada.
Thanks, Rachel. Also very happy and excited to be here, and thank you for the opportunity to speak as well. So I've been in HR for a very, very, very long time. since graduating back in South Africa. I've been in Canada for around 13 years now. So, I've had very vast experience in human resources. I'm currently the director for people and culture at a company called Drone Delivery Canada. It's a brand new industry, so it's exactly as the word or the name of the company suggests. We do delivery using drones. So it's a nascent industry, new jobs. It's definitely been a little bit of whirlwind the past year, I would say. But it's amazing to be in a company that is so forward-thinking and so purposeful around being able to deliver, vaccines and medical equipment, things like that, using drones.
Wow, that's I know the name is very self-explanatory, but when you say it, it's that's amazing. I'm sure everyone would like to hear a little bit more about your organization and how they're pivoting. So thanks so much for being here, Paula. So Evert, we're gonna maybe start with you, and I'd like to kind of maybe talk a little bit about, as we open up, the questions in the panel, what trends, like there's obviously been a lot of change. I mean, things are changing monthly. The job numbers are up, the job numbers are down. Things are shifting, people are being laid off, and some people are being rehired, and there's been wage subsidy. And if you think about all these things, it's just so much from an HR perspective that, especially people in director manager roles have had to keep track of and inform their employees of all these things that are changing. And there's been a million questions. So, what trends are you noticing today? I mean, there's all those things that were happening, and they're still kind of happening for the most part. The job numbers are on an upward trajectory, but what trends are you noticing as we kind of start to open up and the vaccines are rolling out? Just anything that you've kind of noticed, or what you see kind of moving in the next part of this pandemic?
Well, the toughest part, and I'm sure that goes for my three fellow panel members too, is that there was a spike, of course, in exactly a year ago. Like this week, we have the sad 1-year anniversary of the pandemic,
right,
where there was a shutdown of all non-essential businesses. And as a result of that, me having multiple clients, I was complicit in laying off 150 people, and there was no way that I was prepared for that. So that was a huge a stressor. And the worst was, like, people were sent home, and then 1 or 2 weeks later, together with supervisors, managers, I had to relay these messages. And the worst situation was a female employee who was on her patio in her backyard at a picnic table with a laptop on the table and a kid on each knee, and we had to tell her that her job was going to end. So that was really tough in April, or marching into April. Then things quieted down a bit, and in May it picked back up. I think it was May the 19th that things opened up again. People were hiring again. So in terms of HR, it was sort of back to normal from that point. Now that we're a year down the road, one of the trends I see is, and I'm really happy with that, more breathing room for people in cubicle farms, and they rightfully demand it too. Also, I did a survey among 26, like a Zoom survey among the 26 employees in the fall. 15% of them said, I'd like to work exclusively from home. 35% said I'd like a hybrid situation. 50% said I'd like a hybrid situation. So let's say 2 days in the office, 3 days from home. And then 35% said, I really need to be at the office. And 2/3 of those were senior people, in terms of, like, somebody has to sign the checks. So going forward, I think that that's here to stay. Just think of all the high rises in Toronto, where organizations are going to realize, do we need 5 floors, or can we do with 2 if people are working off-site? And also, I've seen the people from the Zoom survey that I did, plus informal feedback from my network. Many people are more productive. Like, the day shifts a bit. Some start early, some start later, but they're more productive because there's no stop in chats. And then, of course, the sad part, I think we're just starting to see the start of the carnage, the fallout of the mental impact that this pandemic has. And so far, I've seen, the talking heads seem to be focused on, as long as we're physically healthy, everything's fine, and it's not that simple. So I do foresee that that impact will be here for years.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So, Andrea, I know that you mentioned that you also have been, as we kind of before we went live, you were surveying your employees as well to kind of see what approach they wanted to take. Do they enjoy working from home? Do they want a hybrid approach? I'm not sure if you got the results of that survey, but maybe you can talk a little bit about what it looks like kind of moving forward for your organization and what kind of plans. You know, you don't have to get into too much detail, but how you're thinking about, you know, we don't really know when things are going to open up fully and it's going to be safe for us to return to work again. But I know a lot of organizations are planning for that. So maybe you can touch base a little bit on how, you know, you're planning for that and what your organization's thoughts are on, you know, moving forward if things are going to open up. Again, we're not sure when, but if they do, what kind of your plans, things that you've been working on, strategies.
Absolutely, happy to do that. So I will say that we haven't made full decisions yet, but we do have an idea of where we're heading. And to give some context, so we are in the tech space, so we all have laptops. We're very much able to work remotely. In fact, we typically would have a remote from work during the holidays historically, so we are set up to work remotely. I started with the company in January 2020, and then in February 2020, I actually rolled out my very first policy, which was a work from home policy. So there were a lot of conversations that happened with that policy being created to set us up for that type of work. And then lo and behold, in March, we took our laptops home on a Friday and we were just there. We've been home for over a year now. At the beginning, I'll also add that a lot of our culture is based on the foundation of connection, people having a great group of people who enjoy spending time together, who work really closely, who have a lot of conversations, who did a lot of events during the day as well as after work. So that was a key part of our experience as far as employee experience goes. So now that we've been working remotely, initially there was a question as in like, how long will this be? How long can we do it for? What is the experience going to be like? And how do we keep the experience for employees similar or better than it was in the office? As time has gone on, we've seen people's, like, I guess, well-being and quality of life improve. They've been spending a lot of really great time with their family, having lunches with their kids. And it's changed a bit now. So what we're seeing is that the primary amount of our team wants to work remotely and maybe come into the office once every so often. That's the highest number. The second highest number is 2 to 3 times a week. And we had literally one person who wants to come into the office about 4 times a week. And I think that was more based on just the space that they have at home and the sharing of space. You know, downtown condo, small space, you need to have a bit of space to have 2 people working professionally from home. So those are essentially the results. As far as our approach, we have given some thought in the past as far as working remotely fully. But what we've gotten from our team is that they don't necessarily want to have a fully remote work experience. They want to have the option to come in sometimes. So our approach is going to be something that we kind of categorize in terms as choose your own experience. So we would have an office space that you can come into, and then you can also have the experience of working from home. And what we've realized throughout this entire experience, actually with remote work and working from home and the pandemic, has been that we can't paint every employee's experience with the same brush. Like, different employees have different needs, different motivations, different desires, they're in different contexts. So we have to take those all into account and create experiences and programs that are a bit more flexible so that people can kind of take what they need from them. So that's the approach that we're gearing towards. It's helpful in not only the remote work situation or the location of work, but in other areas as well.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing. It's great you've been proactive in surveying your employees. That's great to get their feedback. And Sheeba, I know you've worked, you know, in organizations and you're here now, and it's probably been a very different experience with the pandemic. What types of policies have you implemented for your staff in terms of work from home?
I think a work-life balance policy has been really critical for us. Utilizing that vacation time rather than putting it off just because travel is banned right now. I think we're trying to really encourage that piece. Just because pandemic burnout is real, and it's not just from a work-life perspective, but just in general with having that lockdown, opening things up, closing things up. Even now that some malls are open, you walk around, it's quite depressing to see stores closed. It's almost like walking ruins after a war. So that's kind of what people have described. And we're in the survey world. So, much like Andrea, we were able to survey people at the beginning of the pandemic, right in the heart of it. Last summer, we attempted to have a soft opening with a 410 model. We found it wasn't very effective. So, rejigging that policy of what business moving forward looks like and what is our work from home policy? Is it applicable to all departments? We have to have a very needs basis for getting everybody to have a new way of doing business. So our policies haven't shifted all that much other than vacation right now and the work from home, much like Andrea, because obviously the time of it. So other than that, I think it's just been pretty status quo. Just in the technology sector, we're all very well versed in working remotely. So our policies were pretty much already in place.
Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing. And Paula, I'm gonna since everyone else answered, I'm gonna ask the same question to you. So, obviously you're in a very, your company focuses a lot on tech. So, but I noticed, are you in the office? Are you at home?
I am. Yeah, I thought it was more stable to come in here. The Wi-Fi wouldn't give out.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you're in a position where you're kind of working from home. You can go in the office if you need to. I was like, either she's in the office or she's got like a really nice setup at home that she's making it look real. So that's great. So maybe you can share, what's kind of happened with your organization, how you kind of rolled out working from home, if maybe you were always working from home, and what that looks like in the next 3 to 6 months as hopefully we start to open things up.
Right. So we, like from the beginning, actually, when it all started, we sent everyone home. We do have some people that have to be in the office. So that quickly pivoted. And I think that's, there was a lot of the learning as we went along, that, the lab workers needed to be here. We have people who actually fly the drones from our location in Vaughan. They need to be here because the setup is here and there's, reasons why they need to be here. So we have very much a combination. So people that, were and continue to be working remotely, did so. We did have some time back in the summer where, we got them to come back. But then again, with everything opening up, the numbers going up, the lockdown again, we sent, those people back home. So I think we've, really left it to them. Our managers are very close to everyone. We have, we stepped up our communications. We used to have monthly communications meeting with the entire company. We then started doing it every 2 weeks. We started trying to do like quizzes and games and bingo and, just those constant, communications. So that, not only the people here still had that touch point, but people out in the field who were now going, remote. Our IT people and finance, etc., that could also work from home, so we kept those touch points. I think that was really, really important. And then just asking them questions. So we have anonymous questions that go out with every communications meeting that we have. We had surveys going as well. So it's really been a mix. The feedback that I've received from people that are working at home is that they do want to be able to come in and have some social interaction. Obviously, right now we can't do it. So, when you come here, you're wearing masks, there are hand sanitizers. We do daily screening. We have thermometer checks. Like it's, it's a completely different world. Our kitchens are partially shut down. Boardrooms are shut down. So it's definitely been a pivot. But I know that people are interested in getting back to, those socials, which we used to have every month, which we don't, we try and do remotely, but it just doesn't feel the same way. So it's been a bit of a mix, but I think if I were to say anything is I'm so proud of everyone because with everything that's been going on, we kept going and, the organization does fill that gap. So it is an essential service. So we had to keep open and, I take my hat off to everyone that was coming in every day and just kept going.
Absolutely. I think everyone, I said at the beginning before we broadcasted that HR has had to wear so many difficult hats during this pandemic. So, hats off to you guys for everything in terms of, layoffs and onboarding and virtual interviewing and dealing with mental health issues and employees and questions. And, a lot of this the burden has fallen on HR's shoulders. I mean, if you're a small business owner, if you're in a position of HR, you've got a lot of lives to think about and protect and their families. So, you guys have been doing an amazing job. So Daisy has asked a question. So any ideas from the panel for online social events for teams, which was kind of going to be my next question to a couple of our panelists in terms of, and Paula, you just kind of touched on it a little bit, but how have you been keeping up employee morale? With employee morale and culture also comes hand in hand with mental health issues that people might be experiencing from, I guess we're calling it, pandemic fatigue, or, just simply the fact that you're in your home all the time and you can't go out for lunch or you can't do those social things. So maybe Sheeba, we can start with you, and maybe if you have some suggestions or ideas for people that are watching of things you've done in your organization to kind of keep up the mood and the positivity and the culture and the social aspect of, we can't have those water cooler conversations anymore. So maybe if you have some ideas or things that you guys have been doing to really keep up the morale of your staff.
I think we've taken, and I've introduced the idea of, we're in a world where when you look at the dating world, it's gone online. We're not, at the bars picking up people anymore. If you take that idea and apply it and really leverage technology, because we are really relying on technology right now to keep us connected, and mimicking that environment. So some of the things that we've done is we have virtual socials every month. And what we want to do is encourage those people that are passive participants. If you think back to our normal business world that used to be prior to the pandemic, you had the people that were actively participating in all the social events and the people that just kind of sat around and watched, but there was enjoyment to be had in both ways. So we needed to have people actually actively participate and actively log into those socials. So we had to create incentives around it. Part of the incentives was, with that monthly social, it started off as just a place to hang out and chit chat on a Friday evening at 4:30. What we were finding was the participation was low because there's no purpose. So we started inviting purpose into it. The first day was share silly pictures on our Teams chat throughout the day. And then at the end of the day, because we're in the survey world, we would create a survey, launch it right then and there, and share all the results. And it would be fun to see kind of who got the most votes. And, it would engage a lot of conversation and just, a little bit of connection. Some of the other things we did is playing games like 2 Truths and a Lie. And I thought this was really effective for hiring, for the new hires that we had during the pandemic who didn't have that first day, walk around and introduce people. So this was a great way for them to learn, especially fun little facts about everybody. And we would really, being in the technology sector, Andrea, I think you could probably attest to it. We hover on that border of, a little bit of risque, but still, we're still in good hands, but it's all in good humor. And then just having friendly contests. Halloween was a great opportunity for us to have, kind of a teams or a departmental contest. And we utilized, our teams function to really create, some great submissions, and they were themes, and it was interesting to see how creative people were getting. And they were very, very happy to participate. But at the end of the day, what we want is we just want everybody to feel connected. When we look at the whole organization, there's things we can do. But as a manager myself, I have a team of 2 that report into me. One of the things that I do is I try to mimic that when you walk into the office in the morning and you say good morning. I will go on Teams and I will video call everybody and say, hey, good morning. How was your day? How was your evening? What did you make for dinner? Just little things like that. And I think that makes such an impact because I'm never going to change the background of my Teams meeting. I don't care how messy my background is. We're in a world where we're sharing, and we're disconnected yet we're sharing. So I want people to see that maybe my laundry basket is sitting back there, and you know what? I couldn't get to it, and and everybody's going through that moment as well, especially the ones that have children at home. So I think there's a connection between being brutally and raw and honest right now that will help in the engagement, and then the other part of it is. The other part of it is to actually, create events that have purpose. that encourage that participation. There's a purpose to logging in. There's a reason where you're going to log in. So that, I think, has been really effective. It's really built a lot more excitement about seeing people in person. I joined the company during the pandemic, so people have seen me on these calls, and there's days I have makeup on and there's days I don't have makeup on. I've actually logged in my PJs one day, and everyone asked me, "Are you in your PJs?" I'm like, "Yep, I'm in my PJs." And I think that honesty goes a long way. I think it's just like, this is just the world we live in now. Would they have ever seen this if I was in the office? No. So I want to take the opportunity that we are remote to be a little more open, be a little bit more shared, be more human with them. And I think that goes a lot further. Don't worry, Everett, there were no bunnies or anything.
No, that's such a good point that you're making, though. You know, we host these events a lot, and I run panels and I do the introductions, and I had forgotten that I had like my daughter's birthday balloons on my window. So I had everyone in the chat being like, "Happy birthday, is it your birthday?" I'm like, "No, it's my daughter's birthday." It's like, "Well, how old is she?" But I ended up leaving them up for like the whole 2 weeks because people just kept asking, and it's a great way to start engaging with people, right? Just like when Evert logged in, I'm like, "Oh, you're representing Newmarket today with that license plate," right? So these things they're important, right? You don't realize, you know, just how important they are. And his clock is wrong, I think. Is your clock wrong?
That's true.
I'm going to shift to you, Evert, while we're picking on you. So what's the same question, you know, as Sheeba, like, what are you suggesting or advising, you know, to keep up that? And thank you for your response, Sheeba. That was great. The personalization, you know, super important. And all your tips, we really appreciate it. So, sorry, Evert. So in terms of like, how are you advising with mental health and culture and keeping people connected? I think that's probably one of the toughest, other than the layoff part of it, one of the more tough things to make sure everyone's well taken care of and connected and feels okay, right? So what are you advising, you know, for check-in points, or, you know, how are you advising to help with this kind of, I don't want to call it a stigma, but help with these issues surrounding mental health and culture?
Right. As Sheeba said, it's about using tech, leveraging technology, and being creative. I've been part of online like virtual bingo and virtual raffles and virtual staff meetings and virtual presentations on a certain topic. As you said, it needs to have some purpose. Another great idea, I think it was December 17th, one of my clients invited me to participate in a virtual dinner, and they had a chef hosting the event, who went through the recipe step by step, and it was a huge lot of fun. So that was a great idea in terms of you know, getting people excited, and there was, you know, food at the end, and then in the sense of employee engagement. One thing hasn't changed, and that is that managers and supervisors and team leads used to be and still are responsible for keeping in touch with their teams. So that hasn't changed, and they have always borne that responsibility. It's just become more urgent now to keep in touch with people, whether that be through email or Zoom or calls. But managing remote teams requires, you know, let's say, the next level of skill. So there is a responsibility there. And I do think that every time you reach out as, let's say, a supervisor, as a manager, that the message is that you care. And that was amplified by the pandemic.
No, that's great. I love the dinner idea. That's so you get an ingredient list and you all cook together, and then that's a great idea.
And then we used that same idea 10 days later remotely, because with my mom, who's overseas. So we set up, we created a recipe, and we had brunch while she had dinner. And that worked out great too. Because obviously we couldn't get together.
Modified meals. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing. Yeah, no, thank you. So we have 1 minute left. So maybe lightning round for Andrea and Paula with the same question. So, you know, how have you been motivating? What's the culture? How are you kind of, I know it's very, I'm putting you on the spot very last minute here. But maybe just a couple quick ideas of how you've been kind of maintaining morale, culture, and the whole mental health aspect. So I'll start with you, Andrea.
So I think, in addition to what everyone else has shared, one of the key things that I've taken away is to involve everyone in the decision process. Like, have everyone involved in bringing ideas forward, like creating different social groups, different like book clubs, different chat groups, etc. So it's not just on one person or only the HR team, but on everyone in the company, because it's everyone's responsibility, and it's an opportunity to be involved and engaged.
That's great. It's such a good idea. Yeah, I mean, when people are involved, they just feel more part of the process and the culture. So, great point. And Paula.
I mean, everything everyone said is, what we've been trying to do as well. I mean, the other thing that we did over the summer, which seemed to help as well, we have a lot of engineers, a lot of competitive people. So we did a competition around steps. So we try to tie it into wellness and just keeping fit. And we did, our first client was First Nations up north. It was 75 kilometers. So the first person to 75 kilometers, whether you were walking or biking, won a prize. So we try to do, something like that, which everyone got involved in. And they got there within a week, which was crazy. But
wow. That's a lot of walking bike competition. Yeah, no, it's good. That's a great idea to incorporate fitness into it, because a lot of people aren't out as much. Like maybe people went out for, but encouraging people to go out for walks and kind of get some fresh air. That's really important for your mood, right, and your overall fitness and health. So these are all great, amazing tips, and we really appreciate you guys sharing them. Thank you for being part of the panel. It went by way faster than it normally does. So you guys shared some awesome information. So thanks to all of you for being here. We really appreciate the time you took out of your day to be here. I don't know if you guys all want to share your LinkedIn profiles. If people want to connect with you, other like-minded, HR, we can all kind of pool together and brainstorm and give each other ideas and be helpful. But yeah, I thank you so much again. We really wanted this to be a positive experience, and I think we focused more on the positives than we did the negative aspect of this pandemic. So I just wanted to mention also that we do have other events that go on. So TorontoJobs.ca/news is where you can find all of our upcoming events. If you're interested, we have events specific for recruiters. We have another HR event happening in April as well. So again, that's TorontoJobs.ca/news. And again, we just thank you guys for being here. So thanks to everyone for attending today and for taking time out of your day to be here with us for the last couple hours. And have a great day, everyone. And thanks so much.
Everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Everybody. Bye.